Good morning, Nick Krem.
What's going on, Michelle? I'm going to hit you with those finger guns like at the end. I always love that part.
It's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I have you to thank for that. Yeah. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to Michelle Humes Live. I am so excited to welcome my friend, Nick Krem, to our program. Nick is the bomb, and I'm about to share with you why, and he is going to share too. So welcome, Nick.
Man, I'm so excited. You know, I see you going live all the time, and you finally asked me to come on. I'm like, yes, Michelle, I'm coming on. So I'm really excited to be a part of Michelle Humes Live. Everything that you're doing, you know, I tune in all the time. You do some great stuff, so I'm excited to add some value to it.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. And we have a lot of different kinds of people that watch our broadcast. Obviously, not all in real estate, a lot of different entrepreneurs. And so Nick is what I consider to be the ultimate marketer and brander. And so he is working with some of the top people. You are working with some of the top people in the country. And so I just wanted to get to know you a little bit better and introduce you to my audience.
Well, you know, I'm pretty much an open book, especially with you, Michelle. I can't hide anything from you, Michelle. I could try, but, you know, we're just going to be able to get it all unpacked all here.
Can't hide. Okay, so I want to start with how you got into the industry because I think it's fascinating that you are so young and so successful. You are 26 years old for those watching. So tell us how you got into it and a little bit about your background.
So how I got into it is actually funny. This person, so it was my cousin's husband was running a call center at the time. All right. And then he just so happened to be partnered with Al Stasic. So that kind of ties it into where I'm at now. But, you know, he actually went to hire my brother first for this position. And he called my brother, and my brother happened to be in North Carolina at the time, and he couldn't take it. And he's like, you know what? Nick's actually looking for a sales job. And I've never worked sales before. I know, shocking, right? And he's like, I've never worked sales before. He gives me a call. I dropped everything I'm doing. I'm like, yes, this sounds perfect. So I get over there. So I started as an ISA. I was calling 15-hour days pretty much right off the bat because I would call 8 a.m. on the East Coast to 8 p.m. on the West Coast. And, you know, we're trying to get agents to call 2 hours a day and we're starting. No, but I was calling 15-hour days, calling expired, circle dial, FSBO. You know, you name it, you name a CRM and a lead type, I was calling it. So for me, like getting started in the industry, it was kind of indoctrination by fire. It was just like, all right, you're in here, get some training. All right, you're on the phones. We need you to pick up these hours. And that was one thing my dad always taught me is tell your manager, tell the person above you, that's like, hey, I'm done with my work. What else can I do? Like, how can I help you do? Like, how can I help you make your life easier? So every time I would say that, he would give me more hours. He's like, we have a new client. We need you to do this. So all of a sudden I'm working 15-hour days, dialing like crazy. But I'll tell you what, it taught me a lot in a small period of time because I got to work with a lot of agents, a lot of top agents too, because they're paying for an outside service to make their calls. Mm-hmm. So I'm learning their differentiating factors. I'm learning how they operate. I'm learning their CRMs, the back end. And I had to learn it on the fly because I would be calling for Michelle and learning everything about you and then your marketplace. And then I would have to look up the weather in California and then get all the information so I could be an educated dialer. So I got to learn a lot in a short period of time by calling those amount of hours.
Man, I would give anything to have you as one of my ISAs. Let's go back and do that again.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I love that story. How long ago was that, by the way?
That was about 5 years ago. I was 20. I remember because I was 20, about to be 21 when I first got into the real estate industry. Yeah.
I wish someone had told me to get into real estate at that age because it would have been a life changer. It is a life changer. I mean, look at you now. So you don't call for expireds and FSBOs anymore. And so talk to us about how that transitioned and what you're doing today.
Yeah, so it really is a smooth transition because what I realized, so I got to the point where I started managing all our clients too. I think at one point we had over 60 or 70 clients, and I was one person managing them all. And basically, I was the problem guy. A client had a problem. Guess who they called? And like I said, working on the East Coast to the West Coast, I was on the phone at 11 p.m., 8 a.m., like 6 a.m. because then we had some early risers. Because when an agent has a problem, like when people have a problem, they want to call, they want to figure it out, and I'm all about that. And myself, I don't like being caught off guard, right? I don't like somebody calling. I'm like, shit, why are they calling? I'm trying to figure out really quick. I don't like having to do that. So I wanted to be proactive and figure out, okay, here's where a client's having a problem. Let's solve this, and then give them a call and tell them like, hey, this is why it's working better. I love those calls a lot more. I would always get the problem calls. So I had to dive deep into what was the underlying issue with our clients that were absolutely crushing it and the clients who weren't doing so good. So,
and what was it?
Yeah. Here we go, Michelle. This is where it was shocking, right? What's the first thing we always check? The leads, right? It's always got to be the leads. We're jumping around. That's why I said I was in the back end of all these CRMs and these leads, because it was always trying new lead sources. And shocking enough, it wasn't the leads, right? We'd be calling, and then we were checking the amount of dials that we were making, the conversations we were having. And I noticed some things. One client, we'd be calling like 5-6 hours a day. We'd have the warmest leads, the best leads. We'd put our best callers on it. We get them like 2 listings a month. And then we had somebody else, we're calling 2 hours a day. We'd be circle dialing, which, as you know, it's just like calling around random neighborhoods, basically. Yep. So we're circle dialing 2 hours a day, and we get them like 5, 6, 7 listings, like consistent a month. So I started listening to the calls, and there was one thing that I noticed. Here's the big difference. Hey, I'm calling on behalf of Nick. Who the hell's Nick? Hey, I'm calling on behalf of Nick. Oh, Nick. Yeah. How's it going? Like, when you can call and your brand is so big, it's so recognizable that the people are open to hearing the caller, the other person on the phone, whether it's the agent or an ISA, it is an absolute world of difference. And that's when I realized branding, what you're doing with your brand, is so important. I think I was showing you this before the call too, the business cycle. The first step in the business cycle is generating attention, and then you generate interest, and then you hit the contact. So many times you want to skip those steps and just go to contact, right? I'll buy more leads than anybody, and that's why I'll do business. Great. Yeah, you could buy a lot of leads, but if you're able to convert higher on the leads that we already have, because our brand is in place, because they know who we are, we're a trusted brand, we're a trusted authority, we're a community champ, we're doing these great things in the community. And then I call and say, hey, I'm calling back Michelle. Like, oh, Michelle, I love her. Yeah, how's it going? Your conversation is completely different. So that's when I started getting into the branding side of things, because I realized that was the missing link before we get to the calling.
That is absolute gold. I am going to mandate every single one of my teammates to watch this, because it's true. If you call once and they don't know who you are and you haven't put in the work on the back end,
yes,
what's the point? Who? Nick who? I mean, I think that is so brilliant. And I wish I had the wisdom you have at 26 years old. Nick. Well, no, I think that's great. So talk to us about how that parlays into how you work with agents today, because instead of calling on customers for agents, now you are partnering with agents like myself,
right?
And a lot of other really successful agents that are just crushing it in the branding department. So walk us through that.
So I think this comes down to, I was able, like I said, it just so happened that in Cleveland, that my cousin's husband, Matt Milia, great call center appointments today. I'll give him a shout out on this, by the way, still doing great. Loved working there. He was partnered with Al Stasik on everything. So that's how I started working with Albie, and in turn started working with Jay, like all those guys. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this, especially in the real estate industry, man, there are some stories to be told. I started realizing this when I was going to these masterminds, and this was before I went to 2 or 3 masterminds before I decided to branch out on my own and start my own company and really just dive deep into this. But I really think it's, when you're sitting there late, when you're connecting with individuals and you're sitting there late, like maybe it's usually at a bar, let's face it, like it's late at a real estate mastermind, this is where you make your connections. This is where you make those relationships a little stronger, right? And I'm sitting there, and actually, Veronica, I saw her comment. I made a great connection with Veronica too, and I got to learn a little bit more about her story, a little bit more about her. And then I started talking to somebody else, and it's there's so many great stories. Like when it comes to these leaders in the industry, there's so many great stories to be told, but just aren't heard, right? Like a lot of times where it's like, I believe everybody has a story. And especially in real estate, I found, man, there are some great, like from nothing to this great individual, and you would never expect like the things that they've gone through. And I'm sitting there, my mind's getting blown left and right. And then I go on like social media, I go to their different places. I'm like, I don't see any of this, right? And I think that's an absolute, I believe it's selfish of individuals to not share their story, to not be able to change their lives like they changed mine. So that's why it was one of my missions, my goals when I'm working with individuals, where it's about more than just real estate's what we do. It's not who we are and who our brand is, right? So I think there are so many great stories of these leaders and these individuals, so many motivating messages and just things that we can be doing to just betterment the community around us, the community of agents, the community of people, by sharing those stories, by sharing those messages. And here's the funny thing too, is these, like most of these great agents are great speakers. So I'm like, you got everything you need. We just need to systematize it, give a system to how do I communicate my message to the public in a way that makes you, of course, we want to put you in the best light, but also humanizes you in a way that makes you relatable to people to reach out to you, builds the brand, builds the message, and it's all systematized. So for me, it was just really coming up with giving people the confidence of here is the right system, here's the right process, here's the proven track record, this is how you're going to do it, insert your message into it, right? So that was one of my big motivating factors to go out and do my own thing was, you know, just talking to all these individuals and hearing these stories. I'm like, these have to be heard. They really do.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And people like myself are so thankful for someone like you, because the thing that agents are great at is telling the story if they're given a little bit of guidance. And for me, it's no different. This really interesting story of how I got into real estate, and I was a stay-at-home mom living in my parents' basement. Turned team leader of 45 people in 3 years. Like it's mind blown, right? It blows my mind some days when I think about it. And yet, if you look, it probably isn't in a systematic way of being told all the time. So, because that's not my skill set. Systems are not my skill set, right? So somebody like you comes along, I'm like, boom, systems. I love it. I was actually talking to Lori Reeder over the weekend about the economy and love me some Lori. And
we were cracking. She had me cracking up. All right, continue.
So she was talking about where the industry's going, and I love being friends with and going and finding friends that have accomplished so much more than me, because I want to be like them. I want to be Lori Reeder. I want to sell 1,000 homes a year. I want, you know. And so I was talking to her, and she made the comment about, wait, remember this conversation 1 year from now, 2 years from now, when the market changes or the inventory changes, whatever it is, interest rates change, the people who had the strongest systems are the people who are going to thrive. And I even read that in the book Atomic Habits the other day. You know, you do not rise to your success, you fail to whatever system you have.
I love that quote. I love that quote. Yeah.
I'm not even sure I said it right, but it's something to that effect. You know,
you're
only as successful as your systems. And so having branding around systems to me is just absolutely brilliant. I think obviously you're brilliant. So I just love systems. I'm not a systems person, so I have to have people in my world that will create them for me.
So this is where there's another great quote. I think this was said in a boot camp that we did, and then it just kind of sprouted because it's one of those things where you say it and it doesn't dawn on you until you hear somebody else say it back to you, and they're like, oh, that's pretty freaking good. But it's systematizing creativity. Right? Because so many times one of the biggest processes, like one of the biggest things is, creatives, that's where for me working with my business partner, we're polar opposites in a lot of ways. We're very similar, but we're also polar opposites, the way we function, the way we act. And working with the creatives, I know for me, like I can get in my creative funk. I can get in my creative before it'd be like a mayhem, a madhouse. And I'm sitting there, I'm all over the place, and I go here, and then it's like, what was the original goal? I'm like, oh, I got that somewhere over here, right? So for me, it was a relief when we were able to systematize the creativity and break it down into I can still take my creative genes, but I plug it into the system and make it my own. I always say this is the huge difference between marketing campaigns and what we were able to do. When I say marketing, I refer to like McDonald's, but marketing is like, here's our message that we generated as a company, insert your name. And to me, that's like, it's very inauthentic. It doesn't move me emotionally because it's the company's message that like, here's what here's a message agents want to hear. Insert, hey, this is Michelle Humes. Like, da, 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 da. And it goes to the message. And I'm like, that is so freaking wrong. What needs to be done is we need to take the system and insert your message into it, right? So that it's your message, it's your voice. And that's what when people like join people's teams, when people want to, like, no matter what the company is, a boss, you know, like a lot of times you hear it's like, man, I'm sticking around because of the boss. I'm sticking around because of the people here, right? So for me, having that relationship, that connection with the brand is so very important. That's why when I say when you choose a branding company, it's different than a marketing company. A branding company will take your message, it will take your voice and put that at the center, right? Because that's why I make all my relationships. That's why I love working with you, Michelle, because of the individual, the person, the message. When I heard your story, I'm like, yes, we can work with that. That needs to be told. Right. So that's what I always pride myself on, is making sure that message is told. It's not my company saying this is what you need to say. It's let's come up with the system that you should follow and let's insert your message into it.
Yeah. So I hear all the successes that you've had. But we know though, with great success comes lots of failure.
Yeah.
So sometimes that makes people uncomfortable to talk about, but I know you're an open book. So I want to hear, and I want to know where you feel that you had challenges and how you overcame a challenge in your business or life.
So this challenge came about without even realizing it was a challenge until it was presented to me in a certain way. So my business partner and I, you know, it's actually my brother. When I say my brother, it's not like, oh, my brother. No, my brother, my actual brother. Yeah.
Michael.
So there's different Michael. So there's different like relationships that go into that too. But, you know, we were co-CEOs, right? Like as a relationship at the top, we were co-CEOs all the time. And we thought that was great. You know, like, oh, we split everything. We make joint decisions. We do everything together. And it's great. What was happening without us even realizing it was when something would come up, we didn't have that clear, definitive, here are your roles, here are my roles and tasks. So sometimes we would both do it. Sometimes neither of us would do it. Sometimes like things were like balls were dropping, things were happening. And then all of a sudden we both do it. It's like, who did it better? And we were butting heads and we weren't even realizing why. And actually it was on a call. And this is why I know coaching is so very important and being surrounded by the right people is so important. I was actually a sponsor at Agent to CEO. And that's a thing that John Kitchens does. Agent to CEO, it was great. And he was talking about, he's like, man, so there was this group, and he's like, there was always two CEOs. And every time they would get around these huge mega coaches, they would say, which one of you is the CEO now? Because those guys know that like there can only be one CEO, right? That one, like when shit hits the fan, who's that one person it's going to be? Who's that one person that's making those decisions, right? And then every time he went back to this company, and they always had two CEOs. And he's like, that was a huge thing that happened. He's like, they had to make a decision on who was the one CEO. And I'm sitting there and like all these light bulbs just started going off, and I ran downstairs. So we made that decision of who the CEO was. And then for me, it was making those definitive decisions of what is my exact role that I have to embody in the company, and being okay with, it's actually from traction, letting go of the vine, right? Mm-hmm. Letting go of those other things that I was doing and saying, all right, somebody else is going to take care of it. I have to be okay with that, right? Because I've always been that person. If I don't do it right, then it won't get done right. And that is, if you want to do that, great. You know where your limit is, right about here, right? Because you can't do everything, and you can't keep that. You can't do everything for your company. And at some point, it's like taking a deep breath and saying, all right, I got to let go of the vine. I created a system for this person. I got to put them in there. And if they fail, great. We'll figure out a way to make sure that doesn't happen again. But I will never get to that next step if I just don't let go of the vine, if I don't have my clear systems. And at the tippy top of it, if me and my business partner are not working at working with like clear, definitive, like I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly what he's doing.
Responsibility.
And we're able to divide and conquer. And then we also start realizing like, man, if we're both on the same call, we're doing something wrong. One of us has to be on these calls. One of us has to be doing this part of the business. So for me, it was really figuring out, number one, being okay, putting egos aside and saying like, hey, you're CEO. That's great. Let's continue to rock and roll. I'll be president. You'll be CEO. And then we decide our roles from there. So for me, it was that huge, it was egos getting in the way without even realizing it, because we both wanted to be CEO. We both wanted to do these things and be these business owners. And then we were failing in ways. And then I heard John Kitchen say, man, you need one CEO. And I'm like, he's right. That's what's happening right now.
So I was in the car yesterday on my way to hire a new director of operations, and I wanted to throw up because not because I don't want a director of operations. I'm desperate for a director of operations, but I was so nervous about this next iteration of our company.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so important as you grow your company, to think you're going to shed the skin of the old company and you're going to have a new iteration. And that involves hiring a bigger and better and more talented person into your world, which means I have to elevate not only my leadership lid, but my ability to let go and let someone else thrive and design systems around it. And I literally wanted to throw up because I was so nervous. I'm going to do a live about it later because I think so many people can relate to that. But that's exactly what you just described. It's realizing the next iteration of your business, because if you don't, you will absolutely stay where you are and stay stagnant.
And that was something for me too. It's just understanding like, hey, there's somebody out there that can do this better than you, right? Of course, I think we all have like those one or two things, those superpowers, that we can be great at. But, I'm holding on to a lot of things that are not my superpowers. But I convinced myself like, oh, I'm so good at this. And it's amazing when I first, when I started doing like more videos and I started bringing on the people who do videos, I'm showing them how to do it. And then they're like, oh yeah, they show me like 6 shortcuts like on the computer of how to do it. I'm like, you just cut out like about 30 minutes out of my workload by just knowing these shortcuts and doing these things. And it's just amazing when you allow yourself to let go of the vine and just say, you know what? Somebody else can do this better than me, right? My time is more valuable than the time I'm putting into this system, this process. If I can systematize something, great. I put it off to the next person. The more blocks I put underneath me, the higher I can stand and the bigger we can build. I'm continuing to replace myself in so many different ways. And it was just being okay with that. And that was my biggest thing is I was holding on to I got to do everything. I think that's kind of like how I was raised. If I don't do it right, if I don't do it, it won't get done right, And, that's a saying that you hear. And I think that saying should get the hell out of the whatever saying book or that everybody has. Because I feel like I've heard that in school, heard it in so many places. It's just such a wrong mentality, having trust in other people where it's like, all right, if I create a system, I can manage the system, not the person, right? Because when we manage a person, we manage expectations of what we want them to do. If we create that system, then we can say, all right, here's the system, then I can manage the system and not the person.
And we build people when we build a business. We're not building a business. We're building people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned your superpowers a second ago.
All right.
But you skipped by what they are. So I want to hear one or two of your I know your superpowers.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with you, but I want you to share what you think your superpowers are.
Well, so I actually had a conversation again with my business partner, Michael. It was a great one last night. And actually inspired my live with my lady by the lake. You saw that one, right?
I sure did.
Inspired that live. And it was great because he was talking about, I'm not big into like astrology and like all those, what's it called? Like those, I'm good. I like personality tests. I like going into that, but I'm not the one to like try and define what I am by that test. But I thought it was really interesting what it said the other day. Where it's like, I am the energizer. I am like the battery life behind certain projects. I'm not the one that's going to go in there and build out the entire project. When I see a vision, when I hear a story, I will be the battery pack. I'll be the bolt of energy behind those messages, behind those stories. When I hear that idea, it's like, boom, that's the one. We're running with it. We're going. So for me, that's why I'm always making sure for the betterment of what we're doing, I am in front of the camera. I am speaking with individuals. I am meeting with the top leaders because I will put energy and I will make you believe in something, even if you don't believe in it. I'll make sure that like when I hear your story, I'll be like, that's a fucking good story. We are going to run with it. So I don't know if we cuss on your side.
Sorry, Gigi. No.
Yeah, we are going to run with it. Like, this is an amazing story. This is an amazing process. We have to bring this to life, right? So that's where it's like, what is it? Dr. Frankenstein. I'll bring it to life. I'll bring it to life. We'll get the bolts of energy. And that for me, that's what we realize. I have to be in all those seats of putting energy in the right places. So if we need energy, if we need something to get off the ground, they put me in it, and we're gonna go to the races.
Oh, you've got energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got all kinds of energy. You were talking earlier about in school. You said you think I talk a lot now. You should have seen me in 9th grade.
Man, I'm pretty sure I did win most talkative in my high school.
Bless your teachers.
Yeah. Oh my. I don't know how some of my teachers made it through it, because y'all think I talk now. I listen a lot now, but it's it is pretty funny.
Well, Nick, I was a high school teacher. If you were my student, I would have adored having you in my classroom. I probably would have let you talk and sell the kids on something else, a lesson. And I would be so proud to see you as a grown-up and doing what you're doing, because I think, I see some of my former students that are succeeding at a high level, and it just makes me so proud that I could have an impact on their lives. And I know your teacher that you talked about this morning feels the same way. So, Nick, you are a delight. I am so thrilled. This is probably my favorite interview we've ever done. I think that at 26 years old, you have so much knowledge. You are so talented. And I just am so glad you're in my world. And I know that so many other people feel that same way. So I think the audience has gotten so many great nuggets from this. And I'm just so grateful for your time.
Well, Michelle, you always make me look good. So you make it easy on me, So no, I appreciate you having me on here. It's always a good time. It's always a good time talking to you. I was talking to someone the other day, and, I think it was,
Todd?
Can't remember. What's up?
What was it when I told you have to wear your seatbelt? That?
Yes. I literally brought you up in the last speaking engagement that I had
with Todd Schroth. I know exactly where you were.
Yeah, with Todd Schroth. Yeah.
I'm going to be in trouble if I ever see you. I'm coming down there.
I swear, like, I am literally in my car now. And again, guys, this is a great thing about shooting videos and like creating that brand where people feel like they can reach out to you, right? So every time I'm in the car now, I'm about to drive and I'm like, oh, Michelle would kill me. I got to put my seatbelt on. So yeah, every time, especially, I won't just say I do it for the videos, but I especially make sure it's on for the videos.
It will be on, or else our relationship depends on it. It will be on from now on.
Right.
You have way too much stuff going on to be able to do that. Wear your seatbelt, and all the moms watching can comment below and tell Nick the same thing. We will boycott Nick unless he wears his seatbelt. I hope you understand. Shake your head like this.
I understand. I work with a lot of very powerful women who are moms. So if I'm boycotted by it's over. So yeah, I got to wear my seatbelt. I just have to do it now.
It will not happen again. I know that. See how I do this? This is how I get listings. I do like this. I say,
no, Mrs. Humes, it will not. No, no, it will not happen again. I'm going to hit my seatbelt. I'm going to make sure my seatbelt's on. But, yeah, that's the great thing about doing videos. So, Michelle, appreciate you having me on. It is always a pleasure. It's always a good time.
You are so lovely, Nick. If you want to learn more about Nick, it's nickkrem.com, correct?
You got it. Nice and simple.
That's the place. Get in his calendar because he will change your branding perspective. I have sent so many people to you. He will brand you and make you look like a rock star that you already are, but just improved a little bit. So, Nick, I adore you. I thank you so much for your time. And we will do it again very soon because this was all kinds of great things for our agents. And I just really appreciate you.
Awesome. No, I appreciate you too. We already got somebody else tell me to wear my seatbelt. So I got to do it. I heard it here. I get it. Message heard loud and clear, guys. Heard loud and clear.
Now, in my defense, I DM'd you privately the first time.
You did DM me privately. I think it was funny because you DM'd me privately. And then like 2 minutes later, you notice I didn't do it in another video. And you're like, all right, this went public.
Now we're going to public shaming.
I think about it. It's like this one time. I remember I think I was in like 6th grade. My mom told me to wear a coat to go outside and it was snowing because I'm in Cleveland. and I'm walking out the door, but I was going to meet these girls. So I'm like, oh, I don't need a coat. I froze my ass off. And from that day on, I'm like, I am wearing a coat. Like when she said wear a coat, I'm like, I'm wearing a coat. From the day Michelle said put a seatbelt on, I don't know what it was about your words, but I'm like, oh, she means business. Yeah, I'm gonna wear a seatbelt. Yeah, I'm gonna wear a seatbelt from now on.
I do. My 10 o'clock is starting. Hold on a second. Can you hold 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
They've got me. I'm going to tell them to wait 1 second. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. You're going to wear a seatbelt. I adore you. I will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Yep. We'll see you, Michelle.
Take care. Bye.